I think relationship has never been more important than today because there is so much AI everywhere. Everything that is like 20K ACV or less, right? This is AI buying process, AI coaching, AI avatars, whatever, right? Then there will be like 20 to like 100K where there will be that element of AI, but also like you will have people on calls, etc. And then there will be 100K and above where people will be meeting in person, going to events, and then connecting and building those relationships over time.
Welcome to Relationship Capitalists, where super connectors share how they build trust, create value, and thrive when AI changes everything. In a world where expertise is being commoditized, your ability to build and sustain high-value human connections is what sets you apart. I'm your host, Jason Masciarelli. Let's dive in. Welcome to Relationship Capitalists. I'm your host, Jason Masciarelli. Today, I'm joined by Yuriy Zaremba, CEO and co-founder of AiSDR, a YC-backed AI sales platform that turns buying signals into booked meetings. Yuriy is a corporate lawyer turned two-time founder with one exit, two Y Combinator companies, and experience scaling Axdraft through founder-led sales before launching AiSDR, his current company, with his brother, Oleg. Today, we'll explore how AI is reshaping B2B tech and outbound sales, where human relationships still matter most, and how founders and go-to-market teams can build trust at scale. Let's dive in. Hey, Yuriy, good to see you again.
Hey, Jason, good to see you too.
Yeah, after a while. And so, look, I appreciate you taking time to meet with me here today. You and I connected about a year back, and on LinkedIn, I think that you've got great content that you put out. And I had reached out to you because we were looking for help at Pega for our go-to-market for sales outreach and lead generation. And the reason that we picked you guys was really that you did such a great job of building trust, and your team was so committed to really our success with the product and figuring out how we could really get the most value out of it. And so, I'd love to just have a conversation about that and your background and, go from there. AiSDR, you built up, you're now booking meetings with companies like, Disney, Boeing, Netflix, thousands of meetings a month, and all through AI generated research and outreach for your clients. So, what has this taught you about human connection and relationships as you're using technology to do outreach? I'm just curious what you think about that. To start out.
So this is like extremely counterintuitive, and there are like many layers to it, right? So many people hate like AI SDRs because they think that like they ruin the human touch, right? But this couldn't have been like further from the truth, right? Because essentially like the problem that we're solving is establishing the first connection, right? And in the modern world, like all the channels are crowded, right? Like you see ads everywhere, you see emails everywhere, like your like LinkedIn DMs are flooded, LinkedIn emails are flooded, your phone is like dying and overheating from like cold calls, right? And that's all like people trying to sell you something very often, right? And basically what we preach at AiSDR, right, is that you have to find like a person who is most likely to be interested and then reach out with like a very kind of compelling offer to deliver value, right? And that's where AI stops, right? Like we use AI to enhance the probability of human connection. But then when you hear that like, yes, I want to learn more, that's when a human steps in, and that's when kind of relationship building starts. And basically kind of where you start kind of building the deal, if this is like a sales motion or building that partnership or building that relationship with the person. Because in the end of the day, people buy from people, people fund people, and people are social beings who enjoy from like collaborating, right? So like what we are doing is just like one avenue. That me being very vocal on LinkedIn is just another way to do it. Like for me personally, right? Like I believe that the basis for like any good relationship is trust, right? And the basis of trust is transparency, right? And me being like radically transparent about what's good, what's bad, what's working, what's not working is my way to basically kind of say, hey, You can trust me. I will not lie to you, right? And then the important part is to deliver on that promise, right? Because I can't tell you, just yesterday, I had a call with a prospect and they said like, oh, like we want this. And then I said, you should probably not be talking to me and instead talk to an agency. And I have a person I can refer you to, because like what you're looking for is not what I'm offering, right? And you will not be happy. And I don't care if I earn like an extra, I don't know, $10,000 if the outcome of that relationship is a frustrated person.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Yeah, I experienced this myself. I mean, we've used AiSDR at Pega for the last year and a half, and we've used it to basically set up dinners with folks, and we found that that's really effective. And some of the relationships that we've built out of the dinners that we've organized as a result of the outreach done through AiSDR has been great. And so it's really kind of cool to see that in action. And a lot of times I'll get replies from the messages we send out that are like, oh, thank you. I appreciate you reaching out, and I appreciate, kind of how personal it was. And they don't realize that it was, through AI. And,
Exactly.
any interesting stories you have of like, kind of customers or yourself where, ASDR has done the outreach and it's formed like a really critical relationship for people?
Yeah. So my favorite ones, we actually have like a section on the website for this. It's called like Wall of Love, right? Like exactly kind of how we call it. And basically it kind of captures like the best responses we ever got to like our outreach. And something that I enjoy like every single time we get it is like, wow, like this is the most kind of researched kind of outreach I've ever received. And there's like an kind of a pro version of that, right? Where a person says like, I'm responding to this email because it's so good, although I will not buy anything from you, but I just wanted to say like, good job, right? Like this for me is just like the best kind of sign of like success you can imagine, right? And kind of, again, right? Like AI is just software, right? And what it helps you do is like learn more about a person kind of on the other side, right? And I can tell you honestly, like the best version to do that is like to sit down and like go and read LinkedIn and go and read their company and then like go figure out what they work about. But like how many of us have time, scale, and opportunity to do that for like every single person we want to contact? If you want to invite like 500 people to an event where you will in the end kind of host like 30, right? Like nobody has that bandwidth. But using kind of technology to make that first connection matter more is also a part of kind of building relationship, right? Like I have kind of spent time configuring this to research you, to learn more about you, to make this outreach, which I know is unsolicited, right? But a little bit more kind of relevant and potentially can interest.
Yeah, yeah, very cool, very cool. So let's shift into your journey a little bit. I'd love to kind of surface the background that you've had and how you got here. So you started as a corporate lawyer, which I didn't realize until recently, which is cool. And then you founded two companies and basically went from law into startups and now AI go to market. So talk a bit about that journey and kind of how your brother has actually played a role in that as well, because that's been a critical relationship for you to get going.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, right. So I was very kind of lucky and blessed to have a lot of great people along the way that kind of helped me out, right, and kind of strong relationships. And so when we started my first company, right, I just had this idea that like legal work was very routine. You had to automate it because there were so many pieces where I just like put together like different parts of the same contract, right, to create a new contract, right? So, and that kind of gave me the idea that like I should build kind of a product, right? That was a very kind of hot time for legal tech. Although kind of we were kind of doing it before it became like mainstream. And the problem that kind of every single legal tech founder had at that point of time is that they were a lawyer. There was no wipe coding and they did not have a tech co-founder, right? And I was lucky to have my brother who was like an engineer, right? Because like our parents early on kind of said like, okay, you go be a lawyer, but like you go do something real, right? Like be a software engineer, right? And so kind of my brother, he was working at like booking.com in Netherlands. And then when I had this idea, I just reached out to him and say like, hey, can you kind of help me bring this to live and like code this together? And he said like, yeah, sure. Like sounds like a weekend project, right? And that's basically kind of how the company got started. We kind of built it, like iterated, like this was a weekend project, like just a hobby for us. And then at some point of time, it kind of shaped up into a product that like I wanted to show to other people, right? And I was working at a law firm, right? I loved working at that law firm, right? I had kind of very strong relationships with the partners of the law firm, with the team, was very invested. I actually kind of that like before Extract, which was the name of my first company, I thought that I'm going to become a partner of that law firm, right? Because that law firm was itself was a startup. I joined like in year 3 when they started, and then like grew to with them till like year 10, give or take. And so I showed it to like experts I trusted the most, right? And the partners of the law firm, and they were like, "This is awesome," right? And then they said like, "Look, this is awesome. We like you. We trust you. Like, do you want us to fund this?" And I'm like, "Fund?" Right? Like I did not gonna realize startups at that point of time. I didn't know what B2B SaaS was, right? I didn't know what like fundraising was. I thought like this is going to be like a side hassle for me, right? That will kind of bring me some like extra $1,000, right? While I work at a law firm and kind of earn a good salary, right? But then like they offered to fund me. I decided like, okay, now to make it real, I need to like spend it full time. So I had to quit a law firm, like focus on it full time. And then first customers, they came from my network. Like basically I was a lawyer. I was working with lawyers like for years, right? Again, there was trust. So I came to people who knew me and I said like, look, guys, I have this thing. Like, what do you think? Right? Like, do you think kind of your kind of corporate department can kind of benefit from it? And that's how we got our first like enterprise customers. And then they introduced me to someone else, right? So like my first company, Actions, was like very relationship heavy, right? So we like my first, I'd say like 10 customers were all kind of intros, right? And kind of people from my network who were like lawyers who knew me and trusted me from my like legal time. And then some of them were people I met at a conferences, and then like those other people who were my customers already like vouched for me. So it was very kind of complicated. But then at some point, like I realized that I know nothing about startups, right? So it was very obvious when I was talking to a potential investor, and he's like, "What's your MRR?" Right? I'm like, "Well, 1 month it's like X, and then the other month it's Y." I'm just like, "Can't be like that. Like you have this much churn fluctuation every month." I'm like, "No, like somebody pays annually, somebody pays monthly." And he's like, "Man, like no, like this that what you're talking about is cash flow. It's not MRR." I'm like, "Really? What is MRR?" Like, and he told me like, "Go read." Right. And I went and kind of read, and I realized that I'm extremely stupid in that way. And I decided to like apply to accelerators because I thought of them as schools for startups, right? Like this is like a university you go to and kind of learn stuff. And I applied to YC 3 times, right? And we kind of got in on a third try again because we were lucky to find a person who was a YC alumna at a time when they were running YC startup school, and he told us basically how to get in, that you had to like find people who could refer you and kind of vouch for you, because like YC takes recommendations very highly in their like ranking algorithm, so to say. And I found like a bunch of them again, kind of through intros, and that's kind of how we got into YC with the first company. And then I learned what like Silicon Valley startups are all about, right? And it was not as cool, right? It was like months of kind of super hard work with very kind of intense schedules and self-implemented, self kind of imagined deadlines that you have to meet, and a lot of kind of other stuff. So that was kind of a very kind of interesting journey.
Yeah, that's awesome. Very cool. Yeah, it seems like sort of the connection with your brother, obviously, and it's funny, people don't talk about these things, but I've found throughout my career, like the people who have like outsized results, it's often because they have all the other things. They've got product, they've got capabilities, expertise, and everything, but it's because they've had those connections that really help them get started. And that combination really makes a big difference, and people don't talk about that much.
That's the power of the Silicon Valley, right? This is basically kind of a place where so many kind of high impact individuals are concentrated, and it's a very small kind of area. And then kind of just by being there, you have like a higher statistical chance to like connect with someone who then will connect you to someone else, who then will connect you to someone else. And then it's going to start this kind of ripple effect, right? Like people think that Silicon Valley is about money and try to replicate it in other parts of the world with money, but it's not. It's about the network. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so in terms of, when people think of AiSDR in the term in general, not your company name, they think of like hundreds of thousands of automated emails going out and such. So you talked a little bit about the difference. Talk a bit more about what makes you guys different and unique, because I think that you are really different even within the AiSDR space. So I'd love to have you just talk a bit about that and get deeper into how it helps your customers kind of start those relationships that lead to big deals.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. So kind of from my philosophy around like the product is very simple. We don't help you to reach the most people. We help you reach the most relevant people in the most researched way. Right. And basically people that kind of market AI SDRs and the AI SDR industry, unfortunately, are very often perceived in the same way. And like the common perception is like this is like a machine gun kind of software, right? So like you plug your ICP here, which is like 100,000 people, and then just like starts shooting emails, right? Which in that concept is not much different from like mail automation software of the last decade, right? Like Outreach, Apollo, SalesLoft, same thing, right? The sprinkle of AI in this kind of scenario is personalization, right? That does not move the needle that much, especially kind of if it's not relevant and it's just kind of based on random like LinkedIn posts or something like that, right? The power that kind of AI brought to GTM that many people don't realize yet is precision, right? So in the past, I had to say like, find me like people who are VP of marketing at companies who are like 20 to 500 people in San Francisco, and I don't know, use HubSpot, right? Because we could buy technographic data. And then you get a list, and then you start shooting it, right? And sending those emails. And people call that kind of spam cannon, right? And like spray and pray, because you're shooting extremely broadly with the hope to get some results, right? Like an outcome, like somebody somewhere will be interested in what I'm selling, right? And when AI got kind of layered on top of that, what happened is we just kind of sprinkled personalization and said, like, this is a highly researched email to everyone. And this is what most people kind of think about kind of AI SDRs today. What they miss and what like not everyone realized yet is that AI allowed us to go beyond the filters and then research for anything you can publicly verify, right? So basically, find me VPs of marketing at companies of this size that use HubSpot, who studied at Harvard and like year 2010, whatever, right? And just started this role and like moved to San Francisco, and their company has a new pricing page, right? There will be like 20 people who meet this criteria, right? Not 20,000. And that's like that's the most like the biggest power of AI, because basically what is happening here is replacing your human SDR, taking this like 10,000 people, zoom in for a poll list, and then going and researching them one by one to figure out like who should I reach out to, right? So that's like step one. And then like step two, once you have that research, make sure that that research is blended into the message and the offer is relevant. And that's when you kind of get a click, right? And that's what AI SDR is built about, right? So we don't have customers who send hundreds of thousands of messages at all, right? Most of our customers send like 1,000 messages a month, right? That's it. Because there are not that many people who actually like fit those like specific criteria, right? But to realize that, you have to talk to us, right? Or you have to read my LinkedIn, right? Or you have to like understand this philosophy, or you need to be looking for it, Because most people who are looking for AI SDRs, they are looking for a fully autonomous, like high volume cannon, right? Because there is this philosophy gap kind of on the buyer side as well, right? Like I don't want 20 people, I want 20,000 people. And like there are no 20,000 people who want to buy your product right now. They just don't exist, right? I had a great conversation with the customer earlier this month. They said like, Yuri, we're not happy with your product. I'm like, why? Because like you're bringing us like 100 kind of positive replies kind of a month, and then this other product is bringing us like 200 positive replies per month. So you're losing. I'm like, okay, tell me more. What we need to mention though is that out of your 100 positive replies, 80 convert into opportunities, and then in their case, it's around 30. And like, interesting. Like, do you think there may be like a cause relation effect between those two facts? Right? Like, we find like there are fewer people, right? But they are more relevant. And that's why kind of they convert.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's great. So kind of how do you see sales evolving and salespeople and with this? So, and what's the role of relationship capital? So you and I talked a little bit about, this before we got on, and kind of how sellers and people, that are leaders can build relationship capital. But how do you see AI and the role of the salesperson evolving and the importance of, how they build trust and give value and so on?
Yeah. So I think relationship has never been more important than today because there is so much like AI everywhere. But I think what's going to happen is relationship will become like a premium, right? And basically the market is going to segment where essentially everything that is like 20K ACV or less, right? This is AI buying process, AI coaching, AI avatars, whatever, right? Basically like a super personalized self-serve experience driven by AI. Then there will be like 20 to like 100K where there will be that element of AI, but also like you will have people on calls, etc. And then there will be like a 100K and above where people will be meeting in person, going to events, and then connecting and building kind of those relationships over time, right? And I've seen this work so many times, right? So I know kind of, for example, in YC, like just recently, like founders gonna share like best practices, right? Number one best practice for like closing deals: buy a plane ticket, fly to them, right? And like I had like a couple kind of great stories from founders where basically I took a plane to Hong Kong to save one deal. I ended up with like 4 deals closed, right? Because people value that. Because like people from San Francisco don't fly to Hong Kong that often, right? And if you're able to like stand up, kind of jump on a plane, fly across the world like for like what 12, 15 hours and then connect, there is trust, right? And I know that like if something goes wrong, I can call you up and you will fly again to help me fix it, right? I remember kind of vividly when my first company was acquired, there were a lot of like very complex relationship kind of selling kind of motions going there. We're selling like 6-7 figure contracts, right? And all of them were closed by an extremely kind of huge personality individual who was absolute pro at building kind of great relationships with people. He would like invite them to dinners at his home. He would like invite him to like team dinners. He would like go to events and make sure that whenever he's in the city, like grab a coffee and beer with them. And then like out of nowhere, they would buy like a 2.5 million contract from them, right? Because like this thing's matter.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. That's wild. That's awesome. So if you were advising like a B2B founder or a go-to-market leader, and they're looking at, how do they become more successful, and, build trust, what's a daily habit or something weekly that you would recommend that those individuals or teams do, leveraging AI, but also in terms of around, building kind of relationship capital?
Yeah. I think the first thing they have to like decide for themselves is like, where do they fall in this kind of graph of like ACV, that I mentioned, right? Because if you will be flying out to like every customer for a 10K contract, like this will be a loss-making enterprise, right? So like you have to kind of figure that out. And then depending kind of where you fall on that kind of graph, right? Then you have to build the motion that is appropriate, right? So for example, kind of in our case, our kind of ACV is like 20-ish K, right? So the way kind of I build trust is twofold, right? So I'm always kind of present on LinkedIn, sharing kind of my thoughts, sharing who I am as a person with my perspectives on business, AI, and also like my life, right? I share about like my family, my son, because I want people to understand who I am beyond work and perceive my account as like my kind of personal notebook versus my advertising profile, right? And yeah, like I could not do it any other way. Like, because basically I'm doing this by being my authentic self. There is no agenda behind it, right? It just turns out to be working, kind of resonating with a certain kind of category of people. And then, like, when we have those relationships, right, with customers, I am in every single customer channel. And whenever kind of I have like a high priority customer, which depends like on check or like company or like relationship, like because we have some customers who like reached out to me directly and say like, Yuriy, I like you, I want to work with you. And I always kind of monitor those specific customers because I want to like make true on that trust, right? And that credit of trust, right? And then for those customers, I show up, right? I show up on calls personally, right? Like we have like 200 plus customers, right? Like the company is large enough, right? But I still kind of do take time to like review Slack channels, review campaigns, show up on calls, have those conversations, and troubleshoot personally, like on a relationship level. I don't sit on like jump on planes and fly to people, right? That's my kind of strategy, right? Again, in my previous company, Extra, we were selling more enterprise. And then like I networked through LinkedIn. I asked for intros and I went and I had lunch with people and we ran events, right? And it was a completely different motion, right? So you need to understand like where do you sit on that kind of graph, right? And then build kind of emotion that makes sense for you. And this can be being active on socials, right? Your authentic self. This can be lunch and learns. This can be events. This can be flying to people and meeting them one-on-one.
Yeah. No, that's great advice. That's awesome. In your experience, what's one of the best buying signals that sales teams or should be paying more attention to? Like you monitor a lot of signals, and so like what have you found is kind of the most effective ones?
The most effective ones are the ones that are unique to your niche, right? So not kind of commoditized, like hiring or something like that. It could be good, right? But the more niche it is, the better, right? So for example, we was reviewing some successful campaigns just kind of earlier today. And the campaign had like a positive response rate of like 10% plus, which is outstanding in the world of like cold outreach, right? And the campaign was focusing on like people that did a very specific function at a hospital, right? So I don't remember like exactly right now, but basically like reviewing X-ray scans, right? So it's not a job title; it's what they do, right? And basically, the customer kind of used AI to go and research every single profile and see like who actually reviews the X-ray scans, regardless of their kind of like job title, and then basically send them like a highly personalized offer saying like, hey guys, you're reviewing X-ray scans every day. And we've built like a technology that helps make it better and is FDA approved. Do you want me to run a free review of one of your scans and see if it can help? Right? Like 10% plus positive response rate, zero signal, but like extremely niche search, right? And this is kind of another power of AI, like where again, you're not looking at job titles, you're looking what those people actually are doing. And what I ask all of kind of our customers is like sit down and think like, what are the signals that resonate the most with your audience? What are those like niche ideas that can help kind of find people who are most likely to be interested in your product?
Yeah, no, that's great advice. And so if you were looking at like founders and they're thinking about automation and AI, what are some things, or at least one thing that they should not automate as it relates to the relationships?
So I don't automate anything on my link, right? Like every single post is handcrafted by me, not drafted by AI, edited by me, written by me, by hand on my phone or on my kind of laptop, right? This is not usual for founders. Like you can find like millions of kind of posts about like, here's my like gazillion-dollar like LinkedIn AI content generation machine, right? And I don't know, maybe they are actually kind of doing a better job. I don't know. Maybe they get more impressions than I do, but like this is one thing that I'm not automating.
Yeah.
Right.
And I've seen
And
you do
then,
some tests as well, and you talk about
yeah,
those tests. And
yeah,
it
yeah,
seems like
yeah,
those
yeah.
posts that you personally write perform much better.
Much better, right? Consistently much better, right? And again, maybe this is because like algorithm learned that I have a specific style, right? And now when it sees a deviation from that style, it can so maybe it's a self-fulfilling prophecy in a sense, right? But that's my style, right? Like that's me being my authentic self. And then another thing that I kind of never outsource is like critical thinking, right? Honestly, I read an article yesterday about like CEO AI psychosis, right? So like CEOs saying that like AI can solve everything for everyone, right? But and I'm a power user. Like I spend like hours and hours and hours with like in Corec and Codex and like, and I'm like the prime example of like CEO that says that everything has to be like AI agents. But when you dig deep enough, you see that usually they are like 80% right. And the truth, like for a proper business decision, is always like between the lines, right? So, classical example, right? It says, oh, like you have like customers complaining that they can't upload like a CSV file kind of appropriately. Like obvious fix, right? Like allow them to upload CSV files appropriately. Like, yay, everyone's happy. But if you look and kind of dig a level deeper, you understand that CSV is a way to transfer data. So what is actually happening is they are, for some reason, not happy with our data, which means that either our data is insufficient for them, or they have data hosted somewhere else, like a CRM where we are not integrated, or they are used to trusting a different data source that we maybe should integrate. So I should not be solving a CSV. I should understand, like, I should talk to that customer and understand, like, what's actually is happening there and then solve that problem, right? And this is like a prime example of like customer relationship and customer feedback over analytics and AI.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's great. So, no, I appreciate your time. So let's get to wrap up here. So one last question, which is, what's the most unlikely or surprising relationship that you formed in your career that ended up becoming a strategic advantage for you?
Yeah, there was one. So I had one investor in my first company from Latvia, right? And they were government funded. And as a government funded investor, they had a very kind of strict requirement around reporting. And at that point of time, I was so angry because I had like $1 million investors from Silicon Valley who asked for an email. And then I had like a 10K, well, more than 10K, but like significantly less, lower amount investment from Latvia who asked me for like consolidated, unaudited IFRS accounts across 3 of my legal entities, right? With a like under 1 million ARR company, right? It's insane, right? I was so angry. But like in the spirit of like good partnership, right? I was reporting, I was kind of maintaining that relationship, and basically kind of it was working. And then when the potential acquirers came and they said like we need consolidated unaudited IFRS accounts to understand how your business is doing, and I had those ready, right? There is like zero chance I would have those ready if I did not have that investor, right? Because nobody in Silicon Valley cared about those, right? And I would have only my like US company accounts, which would not gonna take into account my other entities that were revenue generating and like cost generating. And basically the acquirer asked them like, give me accounts. I gave them accounts in like 24 hours. And then like 1 week later, I got a term sheet, right? So that kind of specific relationship and basically me make like being honest with them and just like delivering on my commitment, despite the fact that I could easily like jump off it, right? And say like, my other investors are requesting, like, you're a small investor, I don't care, forget it, right? I decided to stick with it. I decided to like follow on to the promise. I kept kind of doing what we kind of agreed on, nurturing that relationship, which turned out to be like a huge success. And then basically in the sale process, they also were like the most helpful investor, because they basically kind of helped answer all the other questions, because many of them, their kind of accountants asked and they had answers based on our books.
Yeah. And now that's allowed you to basically start the company that now you're building, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That's awesome. Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for taking the time today.
Thank you.
And this was an absolute pleasure. So
Yeah,
we'll wrap up.
Likewise. Thank you,
Thanks.
Jason.
What a great conversation with Yuriy Zaremba. Today's episode challenged the idea that AI-powered sales is not just noise. When used well, AI can identify signals, improve relevance, and free up space for humans to focus on trust, judgment, and higher value conversations. To help us grow this community, please take 30 seconds to follow, subscribe, and leave a review on Apple Podcasts. It's the best way to support the show. You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. I'll see you in the next episode. Thanks for listening to Relationship Capitalists. If today's conversation sparked something for you, the best way to invest in your own relationship capital is simple. Share this episode with one person in your network who needs to hear it. To learn more about how to build and scale your relationship capital through proven frameworks and simple daily actions, visit relationshipcapital.com. And if you haven't already, search for Relationship Capitalists on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen, and hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. Relationship Capitalists is produced by Fane, the B2B podcast agency that grows your business. I'm Jason Masciarelli. Thanks for being here.